Good evening and welcome to the March 7, 2022 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. This, I will note, is the first regular meeting we've had in person since March of 2020. So it's, as it was last week, it remains sort of a nice novelty and it's a joy to be together with everyone. I will also note that as of today, the city's mask mandate within city facilities went away because of the numbers on transmissions in the community, which we're happy to say. So you'll see anybody at this meeting who wishes to not wear a mask will not have a mask, and people who wish to have them will have them. That said, the first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight we have our junior mayor, Abir Day. Abir, come on up to the podium to lead us in the pledge. Abir is a fifth grader at Rachel Carson Elementary, and we are so excited to have him in person to lead us in the pledge, so if everyone can please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Abir. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to your family for bringing you here tonight. Next item on our agenda is reflection, and I'd like to call for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Tonight we have two sets of minutes. The first from the work session on February 14th, and I think I'm going to allow my colleague Ryan Spiegel to make this motion because there's going to be a slight amendment here.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to move approval of these minutes with one amendment. It looks like there was a little bit of an error here. The draft minutes indicate that I was absent for this meeting. I was actually absent for the previous week's meeting, but not for this work session. I was present. So I would move approval of these minutes with the amendment indicating that I was present for this.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Next, we have the minutes from the work session on Monday, February 28th. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move approval of the minutes for the work session held on February 28th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, not hearing any. That carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. And we have kind of a lighter agenda tonight. The next item on our agenda is public comment. This is the time Mayor and Council like to hear from anybody who'd like to speak on any topic. It's not a public hearing topic, and that's easy because we have no public hearings tonight. We ask that you keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. State your name and address or neighborhood for the record. Do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak tonight on any topic? We do have one. Our former council member, Mike Sesma. But just because I said your name, you still have to identify yourself.
Good morning, Mayor, Council, City Manager, City Attorney. It's been 2 years since we were in this chamber together. We have two new members here. My name's Mike Sesma, former council member, but resident of West Riding. So I got that in. Anyway, 2 years ago today, I think Joni and I were returning from Berkeley and Oakland, California, where we visited our daughter. That was the same day that the luxury liner pulled in with infected cases of COVID pulled into Oakland. So, came back in time to attend the Congressional City Conference, the National League of Cities, and then I think we had the next meeting, which is a regular meeting a week later, and I think that was the last meeting we had in 2 years. So wanted to see how much the place had changed in that period of time, and wanted to welcome the new council members and just extend my good wishes to all of you again. It's I haven't been on this side of the dais in quite a long time, so the lights are bright. Anyway, there's a lot of things happening. It's great to see things moving forward on so many fronts. I will be here to comment on a regular basis for things that I have worked on and things that I think are important to all of our residents. So I know you won't mind me speaking up, but I just wanted welcome everybody back and say thank you to all of the citizens, the voters of the city who allowed me to serve them for 16 years, even virtually for 2 years. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, not only will you be allowed, you'll be welcome and invited to come speak your mind when you feel it's necessary, and we look forward to it. Anybody else? Not seeing any. How about, I see one person in the audience on Zoom, and if you'd like to speak, please use the Zoom raise hand function. And I'm not seeing that happen, so then we're going to move on to the next agenda item. So thank you very much, Mike. We're going to go to from the mayor and council, and we're going to start with Councilmember Wu.
Thanks, Mayor. I always love going first. It deprives me of the ability to say ditto in response to my colleagues' erudite comments. Just wanted to thank Tanisha and staff and my colleagues for a very fruitful and productive strategic planning session, which we held on Friday and Saturday. I know I got a lot out of it, and I certainly appreciated the camaraderie and folks putting up with my sentiments. I also appreciate kind of the measured approach that we've been taking in the city to public safety as it relates to COVID-19. As you can see, we're all not wearing masks today. I will note that I did take a COVID test on Thursday in preparation for the strategic retreat, and I haven't had symptoms since. So, you know, it just feels refreshing, and I think that, you know, it's a sign of the times that, you know, we all put in the hard work and you know, our families suffered through it, but, you know, this is the reward that we get at the end of the tunnel, hopefully, with the pandemic. That's all I got. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Rob. We'll go to Neil.
So I'd also like to ditto my colleagues' remarks about the strategic planning retreat. I thought it was very productive, day and a half of intensive work, but it was great, and I look forward to seeing the final plan as we move forward. I will read an announcement now. Notice to the general public is hereby given that on Monday, March 14th, 2022, from 6:15 to 7:15 p.m. at City Hall, the Gaithersburg Police Firearms staff will provide security training to members of the mayor and city council and senior leadership team. Officers will be using a simunitions handgun, using blank rounds to simulate gunfire. This is a controlled demonstration and will not be open to the public. If you hear gunfire during said time at City Hall, please do not call 911. We're fine. All right, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Neil. We'll go to Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Great to be back, as everyone has said. Of course, as timing would have it, I was all prepared to wear my Gaithersburg-themed mask with my new Gaithersburg-themed tie to match, and then we got the call from the city manager today that we didn't have to wear masks at the meeting tonight. Oh well. It's a good reason to mess up my ensemble. I want to echo the comments of my colleagues already talking about the effectiveness of our two-day city leadership retreat, and I'm looking forward to further discussions and work product that will be the outcome of those 2 intensive days, which were really productive. I do have a formal announcement about the Board of Appeals to read. The mayor and city council are seeking to fill 2 vacancies on the Board of Appeals for a full and alternate member. The board is a quasi-judicial committee that hears and decides special exceptions and authorizes variances from the strict application of the terms or requirements of the city's zoning ordinance. Additionally, the board conducts administrative reviews of any final order, requirement, decision, or determination made by any administrative official, department of the city government, as allowed by the city code, the planning commission, or the historic district commission. The Board of Appeals consists of 5 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council for 3-year terms. The positions will remain open until filled. All applicants must reside within the corporate city limits, and resumes and letters of interest should be submitted via email at cityhall@gaithersburgmd.gov or they can be submitted in person to mayor, or I guess in paper rather, to mayor and city council at 31 South Summit Avenue, Gaithersburg, Maryland 20877. For more information about this, you can visit the city's website or contact planner Caroline Seiden at 240-805-1074. A couple other quick comments. Later this week, I will be back in Annapolis for the first time in 2 years, helping municipal officials and the Maryland Municipal League advocate for some of our legislative priorities together with some of our senior staff and others. Looking forward to that and reporting back to all of you at our next meeting how that's going. There's about 5.5 weeks left in the state legislature's regular session for 2022. A lot of activity this year, a lot of bills that our staff and the Maryland Municipal League continue to track, some good for municipalities and Gaithersburg, some not so good for Gaithersburg, and we'll continue to work to advocate in the best interests of our residents and businesses on that front. I know the mayor already put out a statement, and it's been really almost a couple of weeks now, but I did just want to note that the funeral of former Mayor Bruce Goldenson, I believe, occurred after our last formal meeting, and just want to again send our condolences to his family. I'm glad that despite the unfortunate circumstances, many of us were able to attend in person and pay our respects to him and his family for his many, many years of service and contribution to the city and the community. I want to echo in particular the comment of Councilmember Wu that the last couple of days have started to feel like a little bit of, you know, the before times, which is really encouraging, and I don't want to jinx us, but this weekend I took my kids to the playground at the Rio, and it was just packed, not in a scary way, but in a good way, with lots of families and kids enjoying themselves. And it feels almost like we've turned a corner. And again, I don't want to jinx us, but with all of us gathered here in person for our first council business meeting in 2 years, and with things looking pretty good, I'm really excited about what the coming weeks and months will mean for the city and for all of us personally. On a more serious and solemn note, I do want to offer continued prayers to the people of Ukraine. The situation continues to be extremely dire there, and we need to keep them in our thoughts. And that's all I've got this evening. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ryan. We'll go to Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. And I too want to echo my gladness to be before the council on my first regular session maskless. So that is very exciting, and looking forward to that safety and the healthiness to continue throughout the city, the country, and the world. I'm excited to. I was out this past weekend, and just to see the faces and the smiles and folks enjoying the outdoors safely was very encouraging. I want to echo my colleague's sentiment and thank the city manager, Tanisha, for a very successful session for the strategic planning. It personally gave me an opportunity to grow a stronger collaborative relationship with my council members, and I'm excited for that, and to get to know the city staff better. And so it was a very successful session. I'm looking for the further outcomes on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. We'll go to Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. And I, too, would like to associate myself with the comments of my colleagues, particularly with regard to the strategic retreat. I, too, found it really valuable to really get to sit with my colleagues for the first time in person and really get to, see how everybody processes information and talk together about the vision for the city over the next few years and the things that we want to accomplish. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you to Tanisha and the entire staff who put that event together. I too want to extend my thoughts and prayers to the people of Ukraine. I'm wearing blue and gold today in honor of them, and they are in my thoughts on a daily basis. It was very nice this weekend to get out and about. I too was at Rio. Amy and I went walking around the lake, and we decided to go see a movie. So it was nice to be at the theater, to spend some time outdoors. It is starting to feel like normal again, and let's keep that momentum going.
What did you see?
Uncharted.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Thumbs
a.
up or thumbs down?
I enjoyed it. You know, it's a video game movie, so don't look for a real deep plot, but it was a good adventure. My 14-year-old liked it, so that was really kind of the purpose of that. But
Thank you.
yeah. Speaking of theater, I want to say break a leg to the cast of Godspell, which debuted at the Arts Barn this past Friday and runs through March 20th. When I was a freshman in college, I actually was in Godspell with a youth theater group, and it was just such a fun show. So Amy and I are going to try and check that out. It's just a really fun performance and perfect timing since we are in the season of Lent. To all the Christians who observe Lent, I wish you a prayerful 40 days, and looking forward to all the things that Easter brings, including the warm weather. And I think I will just close with an announcement. After a closed executive session, a closed meeting was held by the Mayor and City Council on Monday, February 28th, 2022, at approximately 8:25 p.m., pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation, and 3-305B10I to discuss public security if the public body determines that the public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or to public security, including the deployment of fire and police services and staff. The topics discussed were the status of the facility at 16 South Summit Avenue and the deployment of police services to address public safety concerns at Lake Forest Mall area. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, Council Members Harris, Henderson, McNulty, Spiegel, and Wu. Staff present were City Manager Briley, City Attorney Board, Deputy City Manager Enslinger, Deputy City Attorney Johnson, Assistant City Manager Lonergan, and Police Chief Soroka. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:45 p.m. That is all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. I want to associate myself with a number of the comments made today by the council, in particular the congratulations to Tanisha and staff for the strategic planning exercise, which I thought was very valuable, as seems to be the consensus opinion up here. I also want to give an update on my new granddaughter, and I can promise you I'm not going to give you a weekly update every week, but there is news this week in that when I announced her birth 7 days ago on February 28th, we didn't have a middle name. Now we have a middle name, and I want to get it in the minutes. So her full name is Willow Rain Walls, and it's not the kind of rain that falls from the sky. It's the kind of rain that you do over your subjects in your kingdom. REIGN. Willow Rain Walls. So
you have pictures for us?
I have plenty of pictures, but I'm not going to do that during the meeting.
Sure sounds like the name of a future mayor.
It could be.
At
Is she
least.
going to go to the book festival?
Maybe. We'll see about that.
Board books.
Good segue. But I want, before I get to the book festival announcement, I do want to mention that this Saturday, assuming the weather is decent enough, we have a St. Patrick's Day parade, which we're delighted to bring everybody in person over at the Rio, 10 a.m. Please join us. It's not a huge parade route, but I know, judging from other people in the county who I've seen making announcements that they're going to have contingents in this parade, there's going to be a lot of people there. So hopefully everyone can join us and be part of this community exercise. And last, as Rob helped me segue over to the Gaithersburg Book Festival, just want to note that we are having an in-person Gaithersburg Book Festival on May 21st. We have an amazing, incredibly outstanding lineup of authors to meet sort of all different tastes, people of all different ages. You could find all the details at GaithersburgBookFestival.org, our website, GaithersburgBookFestival.org, or follow us in particular on Facebook, because we do a lot of announcements and promotions there. And then last, I want to mention that we will have a hybrid work session, just like we're doing today. We're in person, but if you want to testify or participate on Zoom, you can do that as well. Next week, Monday, March 14th, to receive an update on the city's street resurfacing program. So if you're interested, please feel free to join us in person, 7:30 p.m. next Monday. And if you'd like to join via Zoom, then go to gaithersburgmd.gov/meetings, and there'll be instructions on how to get involved. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to From the City Manager, Tanisha.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman. I want to thank you all for your robust, dynamic participation so that we might invest in our future vibrant, flourishing city. We had a lot of fun with the thesaurus, I think, this weekend. But really, thank you very much. It's not easy to give up a full Friday and half of a Saturday for anything, and I appreciate how much attention and diligence you gave to the process. I also want to thank staff for their amazing work leading up to this point. And I think after this weekend, we are really ready to take the strategic plan to the next level. So thank you all for that. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. We will go to our economic development update. Tom Lonergan-Seeger.
I was guessing I was next. I didn't actually have the agenda.
You were correct.
Glad it worked out. Things haven't changed that much. Thank you, Mayor. It's good to be back. Just a couple of items for you tonight. I wanted to let you know that last week, David Christile has joined the team as Gaithersburg's new Housing and Community Development Manager. As you know, the position had been open since Louise Kaufman retired after a long career here in the city. David does bring a wealth of experience himself after a long career of his own, both in Arlington, Virginia, and in Wake County, North Carolina. Between impediments to fair housing analysis, which is currently underway with COG, and the housing element of the city's master plan, which is just getting underway as well, he has begun to roll up his sleeve and get to work. We do look forward to introducing him very soon, and I did want to thank and acknowledge Sharon Disk for her almost 5 months of stepping in on an acting role for that position, in addition to her own responsibilities as Economic Development Manager. Secondly, and finally, I want to mention that I connected today with John Wood. The name might not be familiar with you, but he's the owner of Open Hand Pasta. You may recall that Open Hand Pasta opened last year at 220 Girard Street. They prepare and deliver food kits that include homemade pastas, cheeses, sauces, among other items, all locally sourced. John, like so many business owners, has been grappling with inflationary and staffing challenges. In his words, he's been rolling with the punches, but he did want me to relay an expression of genuine gratitude to the council tonight for the city awarding him the $17,000 toolbox grant that we did last year to support Open Hand's build-out costs for this new facility in Old Town. In short, John said that he simply could not have done it without the monies provided by the city of Gaithersburg. He characterized the county as a tough place to do business, but Gaithersburg made it easy, and quote, we made it possible. Open Hand now has a total of 9 employees, with most of their business coming from farmers markets in Bethesda, Alexandria, and soon in Washington, D.C., but also from home deliveries. In addition, he just wants to say thanks, Gaithersburg. He's looking forward to summer. So am I. Have a good night.
Tom, thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate that. And also, please, on behalf of the council, thank Sharon for her work, and we look forward to working with David.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to move on to ordinances, resolutions, and regulations. And the first item, actually the only item under that subject, goes to Lynn Board.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you this evening is a resolution authorizing the creation of a local abatement fund. This is required under the National Opioid Settlement Agreement, as well as the Maryland State Subdivision Agreement that you all authorized the city to enter into. Just as a little bit of update, since you all did that authorization, of course, the city agreed to participate in both settlement agreements for the state of Maryland. All of the jurisdictions under the agreement, with the exception of Baltimore City, chose to participate, which meant the state of Maryland got more funds because it was based on participation. So coming to the state of Maryland over the next 18 years will be $441 million. We are still waiting for the final numbers for the city of Gaithersburg's distribution of those funds, but we are anticipating between $50,000 and $60,000 per year over the next 18 years in order to fund opioid abatement strategies. A small percentage of the funds can be used for existing programs, but the large percentage of the funds will need to be for new opioid abatement programs. The city staff is already trying to brainstorm and looking at different programs that we can create in order to serve those who are impacted, by this terrible issue. So the agreements do require the city to establish a local abatement fund. So every year, the city will receive funds from the state that will go into this fund. Only authorized uses can be expended. Funds for authorized uses can be expended out of this fund, and it is subject to annual audit by both the state and under the National Settlement Agreement. So with that, staff is requesting that you authorize the establishment of a local abatement fund.
Okay. Makes sense. It's sort of a legally required housekeeping thing. Ryan.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to again point out the contributions of City Attorney Board and thank her for her work. As some of you already know, there was a small working group of local government officials and municipal attorneys who went back and forth several times in intensive negotiations with the Office of the State Attorney General to ensure a fair allocation of these settlement funds to local governments around the state. I was honored to participate in that, but Lynn did a lot more of the heavy lifting in that small working group. And together with our colleagues in that group, we were really able to, I think, move the needle on the OAG's position, the Attorney General's position, in order to make this happen. So I just wanted to take a moment to publicly thank and acknowledge her work on that. And while no agreement is perfect, this settlement agreement is obviously a significant and important win for us in terms of having resources to work on our continued fight against the opioid epidemic. With that, I will move the resolution, unless others have questions.
Second.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, carries 5-0.
I have a quick question. This settlement relates to one particular pharmaceutical company. Are there further settlements that we should be looking forward to at some point?
There is litigation with other companies, so we anticipate that there may be additional settlements in the future.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And Lynn, you have the next item too.
Yes. We're moving to ordinances and also resolutions.
I should have mentioned
okay.
that. Yes, thank you, Lynn.
That's all right. There are several resolutions under here as well that are charter amendments. So we are having a consolidated policy discussion on 2 charter revisions and 2 code amendments. And these are designed to address personal actions involving elected officials. Back in 2021, the mayor and council appointed a council, or the mayor appointed a council subcommittee that consisted of Ryan Spiegel and Mike Sesma to look at the issue of the potential that, in the event that there were misconduct by an elected official, how the city would address that. And, I certainly want to stress that this was a proactive approach. We had not had these types of issues in the city in the past, and hopefully not in the future either. But the city wanted to be prepared in the event that such an issue would arise. These amendments were introduced on January 3rd, 2022. Public hearing held on February 7th. The record was open until February 28th, and no comments were received to the record. But the amendments were also duly advertised in the Washington Post. So I'm going to briefly go over all of the changes together, but would remind you that we'll need separate motions on each particular item. The first amendment is to Section 6 of the Charter, and this amendment would allow the Mayor and Council flexibility in the scheduling of their regular Mayor and Council meetings as established in regulations. Charter Section 17 is a new section to the Charter, and it would provide for automatic removal from office for elected officials if they are no longer domiciled in the city, when removal is required by the Maryland Constitution or Maryland law, or if an elected official misses 4 or more consecutive regular meetings without excuse. This section also authorizes the Mayor and Council to adopt regulations governing the conduct of elected officials. Then there are also 2 code provisions to Sections 7A2 and 17-13-1. These sections would implement the hearing requirements under the regulations in the event there was misconduct by an elected official. And it authorizes both the Ethics Commission and the Personnel Review Board to conduct joint hearing boards to hear complaints against elected officials and make recommendations to the mayor and council if appropriate. You may note that the regulations are not before you for consideration this evening. The charter changes do not go into effect for 50 days. So we are still working, staff's still working on a few changes to the regulations, but we will bring those back in April before the charter changes go into effect. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Lynn. This is policy discussion. If anybody has any questions, or if anybody would like to speak about their support or non-support, we'll start with Ryan.
Just a question and then a comment. So because the regulations are not before us tonight, the regulation was the piece of this package that involved decision on how many meetings a council member could miss. Is that right?
Remote.
Or how many meetings a council member could go remote.
Remote, correct.
Rather.
Correct.
Because I know that's been a point of discussion, and I know that Councilmember Harris, for example, has raised what the precise number ought to be, and it's a fair question,
right.
But that's not something we're deciding tonight.
That is correct, and that was one of the reasons that it's not before you this evening, because there really wasn't consensus from the council with regard to the remote meeting issue.
Got it. Okay. And then, if I may, just
yeah,
a
please.
comment,
Please.
Mr. Mayor. It's been said already. This effort arose from initially a conversation I had with the mayor several months ago. After events occurring in a different jurisdiction, which will not be named. And I raised the question during that conversation of what would happen if, hypothetically, there were ever allegations that one of our city officials engaged in any sort of inappropriate behavior that warranted some sort of formal sanctions. And as the city attorney has already said tonight and in previous nights, and as the mayor has also said, in our case, this is a proactive measure. I want to just kind of reiterate that. I don't think it can be said enough. There is no reason to be concerned about any of our current officials, but I think the fact that we're taking this on now to ensure that our rules provide for a robust accountability process if something were theoretically, God forbid, ever to happen here in the future, I think that's just another reflection of our ongoing commitment to high ethics and accountability in Gaithersburg city government. And while nothing's ever perfect, and we always strive to tweak and improve our processes, I think over the years, our development and refinement of our rules and our processes has really placed us at the forefront of oversight for government officials. And in many ways, we've often been ahead of other levels of government and other jurisdictions. So I kind of wanted to make that point tonight. I think it's important to remember. It was certainly my honor to serve on the subcommittee with former council member Sesma, who is here tonight, and I want to acknowledge and thank him for his service on that subcommittee, as well as all of his other years of service. And I'm glad to hear that he's going to be a regular fixture as a member of the public in our council meetings going forward. And I'm glad we were able to make recommendations to the full council to implement these important changes. And whatever we decide on the precise details of things like, remote meeting attendance requirements and other details of our legislation that's before us, I am glad that we are hopefully going to be implementing this package tonight and moving forward on it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's an important point you made about our tradition of having strong ethical standards and being ahead of the curve on it. I think those are important points. Who'd like to go next? Rob.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So we had discussions about this back when it was introduced, and so the issues that I had expressed were primarily dealing with the regulation, and so that it sounds like it's to come.
Correct.
And so I'm very happy with the ordinance changes that are being implemented here, or the additional ordinance section as well. And I'd also like to commend Ryan for bringing this issue to our attention based on conduct of in a city that shall not be named, as well as Councilmember Emeritus Sesma and his work in implementing these recommendations. I do have a question on, so this, as ordinances, not emergency ordinances, they'll go into effect 45 days after passage. But if there's no implementing regulations in place at that time, is there an issue there as far as implementation, I guess, or how would that work?
Well, certainly the intent is to bring the regulations back in time so that they would be effective at the same time as the charter and the code changes would be. But if for some reason the regulations would not be in effect, the charter provision does authorize you to issue regulations, but without those being implemented, the requirements of the charter and code would still exist. But there would be really kind of like no details as regarding how they are implemented.
Okay, so kind of a grace period should any of us decide to, do anything. Anyway, no, I support this.
I say there is a
That is a joke.
statute of
It was a
limitations.
joke.
Just to be clear, that was a joke.
No, great work. I certainly support it.
Thank you. Neil, go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to go forward and move the resolution to amend Section 6 of the city charter entitled Council Regular and Special Meetings.
Second.
Okay, before we do that, I want to, if you guys want to make a statement, I want to give you a chance. Otherwise, we can go to the votes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say as a Gaithersburg City resident, as a Gaithersburg City Council member, I am proud that the council, the previous council and this council, proactively took the time to put this ordinance in place, and not only of how this body should conduct itself in future bodies, but the repercussions if not done correctly. So kudos.
Thank you, Lisa. Jen.
Thank you. I am in complete agreement. Being proactive in this manner, I think, is commendable. You never want to be in a situation where the other municipality was reacting and trying to fix things. So kudos to Neil and Mike and staff in putting this together.
Wasn't me. Ryan and Mike.
Oh, right. Sorry.
You can get some credit too.
We need name tags. No, no, but in a lot of ways, it's a bit of a check and balance here, allowing everybody to hold each other accountable and the public to hold us accountable. And you don't want a situation where there isn't a mechanism for an official who does something that you have to wait until the end of a term. So I'm glad that this is being done, and I support the ordinances and the regulations to come with the discussion that we'll have about some of those regulations.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just briefly add, I'd be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge our city manager and city attorney. Even though they were not, I guess, formally listed as members of the subcommittee, they were on the subcommittee, and they did a lot of the heavy lifting in our meetings as we prepared the recommendation. So I want to thank you and other staff who were involved in that.
Definitely Lynn gets all the credit.
Thank you, and I just want to note that if I had a vote, I would be supporting all of these. In fact, I feel like this came out of this. Ryan and I drove this to begin with, and so I'm proud that we're at this point. So with that, we have a motion and a second on amending Section 6 of the city charter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, that carries 5-0. And then next.
Mayor, move to amend Section 17 of the city charter.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 5-0. Next.
These are much quicker when it's not on Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
I know. I have to get used to it. I don't have to call on each of you with raised hands and everything. So next is the ordinance to amend Chapter 7A.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mayor, I move to amend Chapter 7A of the City Code.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carries 5-0. And I think we have one more. Amend Chapter 17 of City Code, Article 3.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the ordinance amending Chapter 17.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. Thank you, sir.
Not
Appreciate
often we
that.
get applause. That's nice.
Appreciate that.
I think he's out of order, Mr. Mayor.
That's funny.
Come and get me.
Okay.
Where's your gavel?
We get to use the gavel for the first time in 2 years, too. From the city attorney,
I have nothing further this evening.
okay, anything from any other staff? Not seeing anything. Okay, well, so I will remind everyone that we have, hopefully, the weather cooperates and we have a parade on Saturday. We want to see everybody there. And we have our next work session on March 14th and hope to see everybody there as well. And the topic is our street resurfacing program. And until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.